Hey, what's up mates? Today we will be exposing a little ugly fat boy which the name goes by TrophicChip7354, aka Tropical Punch 74, aka Fake Giraffe. He has been a bad hacker and bad boy in many ways. First, let's look at his Roblox profile. Look, what is this? He is actually a girl, which he said he was impersonating my Minecraft skin. I don't even have that hair. And we are going to expose him even more. This is apparently where he lives, proved in our Skype conversation. And his computer is there, and his bed is there, also where he masturbates, and he also can't beat Time Machine XDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDDD DDD. Exposed.